Smithheisler, and I'm honored to serve as chairman of the Noble County Republican Party. Mike Dvorak is going to give our invocation now, and David Kennedy will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for the moisture, the sunshine, the cool air. Lord, we pray that you would be with our country, that you would guide us and direct us. Father, help us as we look to elect new officials, that with wisdom we would make a choice that would be pleasing to you. Father, guide our country and help us to do the things in the world that are pleasing to you. Be with everyone that's here this evening. Guide us, direct us, help us to do the things that you want us to do. In the precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Welcome to Noble County and the Heritage Center in Perry, Oklahoma. I would like to give a big thank you to Kienholz for allowing us to use this wonderful facility. And I hope you all had a chance to visit with the candidates a little bit and enjoy some of the refreshments. And with everybody that helped with the refreshments, please stand because we'd like to thank you. Stuff together, so maybe we'll all get it pulled off. And I'd like to thank First Bank and Exchange Bank for the donation of the bottled water. And Gloria, thank you for being here tonight. She's with the Perry Daily Journal. She helped me put together the newspaper article, and she's taking notes for a future article. Looks like. So, do we have any other papers represented tonight? Okay. And Tyson with Penn is up there recording, and he'll have these tapes available online at the Penn website, which is penn.cityofperryok.com, I believe. And the other officers of the Noble County Republican Party is David Kennedy, Vice Chairman. He led the pledge. Kenneman Clark and Annette Lane are our state committee members. And Marion Lambert is our district committee member. And she serves as the Noble County Republican Women's Chairman, or President also. And we are looking for another volunteer to serve as our second district committee member. So if you want to join the gang, come on, let me know. And we are at a Republican meeting, so now I would like to recognize our Republican elected officials. We have Senator A.J. Griffin, Representative Dennis Casey will be with us later on. His wife's been helping out. He had an event earlier and will be with us shortly. The district attorney for Noble and Kay counties, Brian Hermanson, and he had a prior engagement. We had a new associate district judge in Noble County, Niki Leach, and I don't think he made it tonight. In the county offices, the county commissioner for District 1 is Mark Sanders. And from the county commissioner for District 3 is Lance West. Our county clerk is Sandy Richardson. And the county treasurer is Rena Wheatley. So we feel very represented to have these Republicans in office. Okay, and I hope all you got your questions questions turned in. If you come up with anything more and need a card, Rod Sturman and Robin Andrew are collecting questions, and we'll get them to the moderator. And all three races you're hearing tonight will be decided in the primary season, since there was no Democrats that run against them, so it's over this summer. Chuck Hall is going to be our moderator tonight, and Shelley Sebo is going to be our timekeeper. And Chuck is a fourth-generation settler of the Cherokee Strip Land Run and a third-generation community banker. He currently serves as chairman and CEO of the Exchange Bank and Trust Company here in Perry, and as a member of the 10th District Kansas City Federal Reserve Board of Directors for the Oklahoma City branch. He's been active in municipal government for nearly 20 years, and he served this community as chairman of the Perry Memorial Hospital Trust Authority, city treasurer, city council, and mayor. City council member and mayor. And I know Chuck will do a lot smoother job than I've been doing, so let's welcome Chuck to the stage.
Well, thank you so much. What an opportunity to be here in front of you fine folks and to be reacquainted with Ken again. We've done several forums together and had a great time doing it, so I'm looking forward tonight just about as much as you all. Now, I've been voting for about 30 years, and this will be my first Republican primary to get voting. Another elephant in the room, right? That's the way to look at it. I also have a pretty good feel for these things, and as Lorena indicated, I feel pretty good that the Republicans are going to have a clean sweep on these local elections. Real good about that. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the format. First of all, I think somebody first said, well, where's the microphones? Well, everybody knows Chuck doesn't need a microphone. You folks might, so you got to project. You're politicians now, and that shouldn't be a problem for you. So if you have problems hearing, let's just give them the little volume sign, and hopefully that'll work out. What did you say, David? Can't hear, right? Yeah, there's one in every audience. There was some in the Democrat things that I used to attend to. Okay, so the rules are pretty simple. No fighting, no biting, no punching below the belt, none of that stuff. We're going to try to limit the answers from everybody to about 2 minutes, and we've got the official timekeeper down here. And had a little meeting with the candidates prior to getting started. They're all on board, and they get it. Now, here's the thing. I had prepared some questions that I hopefully would have allowed you to really get to know these candidates. You all have been very good to interject with written questions. We only have about an hour and a half, folks, and we have 6 House, those that are running for District 38. We've got 2 for the county commissioners and 2 for the Senate. If you divide all that out, I'll just make it easy on you if there's not enough makers in the room. Not enough time for all these questions. So I do think that I'll probably dispense with the pre-prepared questions that I had. It's important that we get your questions answered because I think that's why you're here. And so I'll do my best to project and read the question that you've given. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start this evening. Give about 25 minutes to our County Commissioner District 1 candidates. We have our incumbent here this evening, Mark Sanders. And we have the challenger, Jason Kienholz. Nice to have both of you here. Let's start out this evening by giving each of you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your experiences in life. And we'll start with our incumbent, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mark Sanders. I'm currently your County Commissioner, District 1. I'm the 4th generation Sanders in Noble County. I've lived in the Red Rock area all my life. And I've farmed and trucked and run gas stations, worked for a grain elevator for 12 years and managed it, and done this job for the last 12 years. So most of my adult life I've been in businesses that had service to the public. And when I was at the elevator, I took a lot of pride in being able to say I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the farmer side as well as the grain side and the business side. And I thought I brought a lot to that business, being able to gain customers, making sure work was done according to the way the farmers like it done. And I've kind of brought that same thing to our county and tried to listen to what the people need and trying to make the best decisions possible for our county, all of our constituents, and what moves us down the road years ahead. I think we've made a lot of progress in Noble County over the last 12 years, and I think we've made a lot of progress in District 1. So, not much about me. I'm a pretty simple kind of guy. I just try to work for the public the best I can.
All right, thank you very much. Now we'll hear from our challenger, Jason Kienholz. Jason.
I'm Jason Kienholz. I'm also a fourth generation Kienholz, Noble County. I grew up in the Marlin, Red Rock area as well. Family farms, I farm. I work for the county, been there almost 8 years. So I know how the county works. I've got experience there. I serve as the bridge foreman, build bridges most of the time. So when it comes to that side of things, I've got experience there as well. My wife and I, we've been married for 12 years. We've got 2 great kids, go to school down here in Perry. I'm a volunteer firefighter. A licensed emergency medical responder with them as well. So I'm out doing that a lot. As far as the community, I get along with everybody. I know a lot of people know me. Normally, when people meet me, they say, "You're Steve's son." That's what I get a lot. I sure appreciate all you guys that help me out. I've talked to a lot of you and had a lot of good conversations. Hopefully, we'll do a lot more.
Thank you both. I appreciate that very much. We'll just go straight to the cards. And the first question, I think, kind of comes about as a result of the very obvious, and that is the working relationship that the county commissioners would have, obviously, with our local sheriff and law enforcement. This particular question deals with that relationship, and they're wanting to know, do you feel the relationship between local citizens and the local law enforcement has grown too adversarial, and why? What would you change about that relationship? And Jason, let's start with you.
Well, from what I understand, I mean, the people that I've talked to about the relationship with the sheriff's department, for the most part, it's been good. I mean, you'll hear the complaints here and there. However, you get the same thing with the county. You get the complaints from people. But as far as Charlie, I see him around in a lot of places, talking to people. I've never experienced anything bad with Charlie. I've never heard anybody say anything bad. So as far as the negative or whatever they're trying to get at, I really don't understand where that's coming from.
Mr. Sanders.
Of course, Charlie and I have worked together for quite a while, and we went through the jail process, building the jail, and I think Charlie did a fine job running that jail. And as you all know, funds are always limited, and the amount of deputies that we can have on call out in the county at any given moment, it stretches everybody a little thin sometimes. But I know I've called Charlie. I called him this afternoon. He always returns my call. We've had to deal with truck traffic and heavy loads and stuff on some of these county roads, and we're working together trying to police that a little bit and try to keep that at bay. I personally, nobody's came to me with any great issues. Like I say, it's all in the number of law enforcement you can put out there at any given moment, and it's something that as money comes in and we can hire more deputies, or we can be in more towns more often, or this or that. But all in all, I think the jail has run well. We haven't ever had anything across my table at the board meetings that says any different. So if there's constituents out there that's having trouble with law enforcement, I haven't heard much of it, but I'm open. My door's always open for suggestions, and I'll pass them on and visit with our office.
Thank you for that. I have several questions here that are all pretty general around the same topic, and I think that this potentially could be, some of the ugly sides of maybe the offices that that we serve in. Historically, when you turn on the news, you hear things about county commissioners, and sometimes all the reports aren't always good. We hear things about abuse, fraud, and misuse of equipment and property, and that sort of thing. I have several questions that they're all related to that, and I want to give you all an opportunity to kind of address your thoughts related to abuse and fraud and misuse of public property, not only for all county commissioners as a group, but specifically for Noble County. And I'll just kind of kick it off with one of the more pointed questions. This particular person would like to know that if either of you are aware of any county money being used on private property. And so, Commissioner Sanders, let's start with you, and let's just kind of generally address your thoughts and feelings related to fraud and misuse and mistrust in the office.
Well, when we're elected and we take an oath, we're not to take anything for personal gain or to operate our office to the best of our ability. On a daily basis, I'll get calls in, people wanting to clean out a fence row, can fix this, can fix that, what can we do? Of course, we're bound by statute. And I feel like that some of this question may stem from a bridge that we put some planks on. I was confronted with it a while back before the election. And it was a bridge at a dead-end road. And I got a call in, and this was a bridge that we crossed with our county equipment. You have to cross it, turn around, come back out of that, or you have to back out of it for a while. And so, anyway, the call come in, did you all do anything about this bridge? And I said, well, does it need planks? Yes, it needs planks. We put planks on. And when I have to justify something like that, whether it be a call from the school about a turnaround for a bus, or something like this bridge where it goes into like 600 acres of grass, and there's people live there, our ambulance may have to cross it, our fire trucks may have to cross it, the county equipment crosses it, and so yes, I put some planks on the bridge. And I'll also say, once I was confronted, I paid for the planks. So if there's anything that's any constituents about that particular item, that's that case. As far as anything else in our scope, we always try to, does it pass a smell test? Do we go out there and do we get over on a little bit of right of way to shore up a bridge or take out a tree that's in the fence row or something? And usually we have the permission of the property owner, and it goes to better our drainage, better our roads, makes easier maintenance. And but there's always going to be someone out there that wants to point a finger at one item. So if that answers any questions, I'll be glad to visit with anybody after the meeting about any more.
Thank you. Mr. Kienholz, same opportunity for you.
We do a lot of tree work, fence rows, things of that nature. And we do get on private property to do that. But it's to improve the maintenance, the drainage of the road. And we have to have permission for the property owner to do it. We always have permission to do it. There's never a problem with that. As far as going on to private property to do a driveway or something like that, no, we're not supposed to do that. You can't do that. We've never done that. It's kind of a fine line when it comes to fence, road. It's a 66-foot right of way. You have to take care of that right of way. Again, if it's to improve the road, you have permission to do it. So, other than that, there should be no reason for us to be on private property.
Jason, let me just ask you, and then Mark, I'll ask you the same question, just very pointedly and very unstructured. So when you have these government projects out there, what are you all's intentions as it relates to to fraud and abuse. Everything possible to follow the law, or will there just be times that we'll just kind of have to skirt it?
As far as I'm concerned, the rules are the rules. Follow the rules, they're there for. They're there for a reason. And it's plain and simple to me. I know there's going to be a situation that arises that might be kind of cloudy, but my fallback is that's the rule, that's what I'm going to follow.
I'm kind of like Jason. I can think back a few years ago, we had a snowstorm on Christmas Eve, and there was a lady stranded not far from where Jason's folks lived in the middle of the night. And Sam's record went after and couldn't get to her, so we started out that night and cleared state highway property, going up there and got that lady out of the snow drift and got her safe. It wasn't my responsibility to clean out the highway, the snow on the highway, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. You know, that wasn't my jurisdiction, but you know, when it comes to first responders, and that's what we are. If there's a fire on people's property and first responders go in, they cut the fence, we take the graders in, fight fire. So, you know, by statute, you're not supposed to get on private property and do any work. But then there's areas that you're called to do, and every county does that. So, you know, like I say, people point fingers at one thing or another, but we're put in a position where it comes, the buck stops here. Where do we draw that line? We say, no, let that house burn down when we could have helped. So, but we usually have the authority of first responder, emergency manager in each situation like that.
I really believe that some of these will spill over into our Senate candidates and our House candidates, but Commissioner, let's start with you. Where exactly do the appropriations for road maintenance come from?
Actually, a lot of people are misinformed or don't understand where our money comes from. Our road maintenance funds come from taxes off sales of fuel, diesel, gasoline, propane, whatever that is. And they take that money and they take it to the state and they put it through a formula according to your population and your road miles. And then that money comes back to the counties. And our Noble County will be different from Payne County or Garfield County just due to the population. Most of our counties don't vary very much from your road miles. But once that money comes back to the county, and our county is a little bit unique. We're one of three in the state that only has 2 road districts. Our District 2 commissioner just takes care of the courthouse and some of the fairgrounds with the fairport, which both commissioners, all 3 commissioners have say in that. But we just have 2 road districts, so right now our money is divided in half, and that's where our maintenance and operation money comes from.
Thank you. Kienholz, you want to add anything?
Mark pretty well summed it up. You know, it comes from the fuel, sales tax from the fuel. Like I said, it goes to the state. Like, it's all based on population, not by square miles, and that's the big thing. So, you know, Oklahoma City's going to get a lot more than what we get because we're more populated. He's pretty well wrapped it up with the formula that it is.
Well, regrettably, I'm already running short of time. I've got one more card, and so we'll have those out of the way. And then I'd like to ask a question myself, because I'm looking for a candidate. And also then give you an opportunity to, each of you, to wrap things up. This particular question puts you in a situation. The situation being that the Noble County Sheriff's Department would like an armored vehicle. Do you support this desire, and why? Commissioner?
Well, first of all, this is the first I've heard of wanting an armored vehicle. I think they would have to, they'd have to sell me on it, and then I'd have to talk to a few people and decide which way they were. My constituents were thinking before I put that vote across the table. You know, I'm all for protection of our people. I mean, they've even tried to pass laws where the county commissioners can carry handguns in the courthouse. I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not ready to get shot. It's probably better target. But I think that you know, we've supplied vests, we've supplied security cameras, we've supplied a lot of things to upgrade our sheriff's department. I don't know if an armored vehicle is one of them.
Jason, what do you think about the sheriff having an armored car?
Well, the sheriff, you would have to sell me on it as well, but I mean, if he had a justifiable reason for it, and he had the money budgeted for it, you know, as long as he had the reason for it, I guess is what I'm getting at. If he sold me on that reason, I don't think I'd have a problem with it as long as the money was available.
Just to, now we're kind of getting into some questions that are important to me, and hopefully they're important to others. But just in general, I'd like to ask you both of you have been in and around this type of work for a number of years. What's your assessment of some of the biggest problems that, those biggest needs that we have as a county? And Jason, we'll start.
Well, as far as the biggest needs of the county, everybody knows that the oil field has been booming lately, and they have done a lot of damage as far as the roads go. And that needs to be taken care of. That's probably the biggest problem in the county right now, in District 1 anyway. You know, they have done a number of roads and they need to be held accountable for it. We've had situations where we put in new culverts, and in a week they've already smashed them. It's not being taken care of. That needs to stop. You know, as far as bridges and things like that go, you know, we have upgraded a lot of bridges, but there's a lot more to go. That's going to be a big project in the future. It costs a lot of money to do that. It's got to be budgeted.
Little out. We're getting the volume control. Speak up. Are you? Go ahead, take a shot.
That, you know, as far as my end of the deal, what I see, those are the big problems. You know, the oil field needs to be held accountable, and the bridges needs to be upgraded more. You know, my philosophy is, if there's a problem, we need to fix it. We need to fix it right. We don't need to put a Band-Aid on it and come back in 3 months and do it again. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
Thank you. Commissioner, the biggest problems facing us here in Noble County.
Well, I think in the 12 years that I've spent as commissioner, we tackled some of the worst right off the bat. One of them was the jail. And we was looking at possibly not having a jail and have lawsuits that would have been put on the tax rolls and still not have a jail. So we tackled that, got that accomplished. And those kind of things out there are out there all the time. It's our job to try to keep that at bay to where we aren't putting more on the taxpayer. The taxpayer is already taxed to death. But I'll say this too, upcoming, we've passed taxes since I've been in here to build up our fire departments, our volunteer fire departments. We passed a tax to upgrade our ambulance services in Noble County. And now we're looking at one of the major projects we're looking at right now is working more on the courthouse. We don't want to be in the same dilemma that our state capitol is in. And we're looking at maybe putting new windows in the courthouse. We've had a windfall, you might say, the oil boom that's brought tax money into our county. We put money back in our contingency funds to do this sort of thing. Sometimes you do things in good times that are beneficial to you in the long run. And that's, you know, energy savings, cost savings, whatever that might be. And the same thing with our roads. You know, we try to go out and replace the culverts, fix the bridges that will last 50, 100 years down the road. And we've got 2 major projects right now going on in Noble County. One of them is the 64 highway to Red Rock, Blacktop, and the next one will be from 412 north of Billings. We've waited 7 years on these projects. We've worked on them 7 years to start to come to reality. And but it's you've got to look down the road 5 or 10 years.
Thank you very much, man. I tell you, he gets the signs down now. That's pretty good. Well, listen, I want to give each of you an opportunity. I wish we could go on and on, but we can't. We'll have to give time to everybody else, but I want to give each of you an opportunity to kind of summarize if there's something that we've left out that you feel is important to cover, that your voters would like to hear. I'd like for you to do it at this time. This will be your last opportunity to speak in front of the audience. And as such, let's give 2.5 minutes to each candidate. Jason, we'll start with you.
Well, some of the things that I didn't touch on, you know, I know that District 1 and District 3 run on cash accounts. That's fine. In my opinion, there needs to be a budget of some sort. You know, this much money spent here, this much money spent here. You know, you never know when you're going to have a major disaster. You never know when you're going to have a tornado, bridge fall through, whatever. There needs to be money there to fix that. There needs to be money there for preventive maintenance equipment. Just the unknowns. You have to be prepared. It's an insurance policy, in my opinion. As far as working with other people, you know, District 3, District 1, the 2 road districts, there's no reason why they cannot work together. You know, we all have pretty much the same equipment. Why don't we use each other? You know, I think it would be more efficient. I think it would be better for both of us to help each other out. You know, major projects, whatever it may be. It would be beneficial for both of us, I think. You know, as far as equipment and things like that, you know, we got a pretty good fleet of equipment, but we also got to pay for it. And, that's kind of where I want to improve things, you know, preventive maintenance and things like that.
Thank you. Commissioner, you wrapped up?
Okay. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming tonight. It means a lot to be able to be in front of the constituents and then hear the issues. A lot of times, by the time the story's told, you know, by the time the person got it, it changed dramatically. But, I've always been a commissioner that I always carry a phone. It's on all the time. I answer every phone call, and I try to get to whichever need it is of yours as quick as we can. As far as Jason was talking about, the counties working together. Due to our last census, District 1 changed dramatically, and so did District 3. Now District 1 is 2/3 of the county. At this point in time, Lance and I have a gentleman's agreement that we just still work on the old commissioner line. He takes care of that side, and I take care of this side. Because I feel like without the budget that Jason talks about, how much money is spent in that particular area, it's not fair to take half the money and spread it on 2/3 of the county, or vice versa. So there's been lots of times, in fact, the last week or two, we've worked down into the new area quite a bit. But each one of us has our own budget. And we never know from day to day what's going to come through that door. I closed the bridge this morning, or yesterday evening. I closed the road this afternoon to do the oil field. And, you know, we had a truck breakdown, we had a load breakdown. You never know when them things are going to hit you. Nowadays, they're big dollar items. So, but we've managed to make it through it and still have our accounts in good shape. So with that, I'll leave it to you, and I appreciate your vote and your consideration. 24th. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's no easy task to stand here in front of you and answer questions that you've never seen before. I think both of you did a fine job, and we appreciate you being here this evening. A round of applause. Okay, well, we'll quickly move to our Senate candidates for District 20. District 20 covers Noble County, Logan, and Pawnee counties, and some Kingfisher is thrown in there as well. We have with us tonight our incumbent, A.J. Griffin, along with her challenger, Dan Ladd. It's nice to have both of you here this evening. As we did with the county commissioners, candidates, we'll give you all an opportunity to get acquainted with our audience. Because she's a lady and because she's the incumbent, we'll allow her to go first. So, Senator, it's all yours.
If we could release our commissioners from sitting on the stage, I know it was very awkward for me, but that would be all right to release
I have no
them.
problem with it. You all can take your seats in the audience.
It's just kind of hard to sit and look around the podium trying to sit, so sorry.
5 minutes?
Let's go for about 2.
2?
Yeah, you can do it.
I'm trying
You can
really
do it.
hard. That's pretty quick. Getting better at talking really quick now, doing channel lines your vote count. So if I can answer those questions in 30 seconds, I can do this in 2 minutes. I do want to start by thanking very much our host. Lorena, you've done a great job putting this together. Wonderful turnout. You should be very pleased. And ladies at Noble County Republican Women, always thank you for everything that you do, and for Ed, thanks for letting us use your great building. I'm glad to be here with you all. I feel like I am kind of home. I want to start by introducing my family, make sure everybody sees that they're here. I have my husband Trey, my daughters Alexandra and Reagan, my in-laws Kenny and Linda Griffin. And then also if you've ever called my office, and many of you have, asking for things, the very friendly voice on the other end of the phone is Kathy Barton, my executive assistant. She's driven in from Meade to be with us tonight. It feels a little surreal to be standing in front of you. 2.5 years ago, I came into town, didn't really know anyone. Trey and I started our campaign in Perry, came to town to knock doors. I'd never done it before. It was a unique experience. Now I've done it a lot. And now I know where all the roads in town are. So I thank Perry for kind of getting me started in this business. The only thing I knew about Perry is they did a lot of good wrestling here. It has been quite wonderful to bring Coach Delk and the Perry Maroons to the Capitol 2 years in a row to celebrate state championship number 40 and number 41. And so now I feel like I'm a part of the community. And I promised to you and to you that I would do that I would work really hard to become a part of this community. And by the way, it's kind of amazing how easily those Republican questions are just rolling right off your tongue. He sounds like a natural, like he's been doing it for 30 years. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. There's a lot of things that I hope you ask about, but I want to end by saying thank you for letting me be your senator. Thank you for inviting me into your community, and thank you very much for letting me be your voice at the Capitol for the last 2 years.
Thank you. Mr. Ladd.
My name's Dan Ladd. I'm from Guthrie. I have a small business there, and my beautiful wife is in the back helping with the filming. Nancy, she's been my bride for 31 years. We have 3 children that are married and grown, and 4 children that call us Nana and Pop. We call them our grandsugars. 2 of those are natural, 2 of those are fostering, so we're thrilled to have them as part of our lives. I have an engineering firm in Guthrie, and it's called Inline Press, and we manufacture machinery. And the reason I am running is that I want to see us be able to turn our state into a place where we can really stand up against some of the federal government and their overreach, and I think the senators can do that. And so I have seen that the Constitution is a great plan, and we've gotten away from that recently. And if we turn back towards the Constitution, we can strengthen our position. And so I'm very thrilled to see what we can do in the state in returning to the Constitution.
Thank you. Okay, well, before we go any further, I see the coach made it. Our state representative from District 35, Dennis Casey. Please make him feel welcome. Well, let's get right to it. As you would expect, lots of questions related to healthcare and education, of course. I would expect nothing less from this fine crowd. Let's start out with the first written question, which is, what are you going to do to stop the Obamacare in Oklahoma? Costs are skyrocketing, and I love this quote, and I'm not getting any younger. With that, let's give an opportunity to address Obamacare in Oklahoma.
The The simple solution for Obamacare is the nullification process. We can nullify the penalties for Obamacare. The federal government doesn't have a constitutional right to force us to buy insurance. So we can stand up against the federal government as a state. The state will not pay. What Obamacare wants us to do is we would pay a penalty if we did not participate. We'd send that penalty to the state would send it to the feds. What we have to do is make an arrangement with the Capitol and to say, no, we do not want those penalties going to the federal government. The federal government will be upset about that because it's a way of getting out from their unconstitutional step. But it's something that we can do, and it's the best way around that. Since I still have some time, and you've asked about health care, the Senate recently passed another bill that forced us to do more on our health care. Instead of being able to choose health care specifically of what you wanted, our Senate decided that we needed to force our health care to have certain options. And that bill was passed, and that was one of the bills that went into weighing out whether a person was following the Constitution and allowing us to have liberties, or if they were forcing government intervention into our life where it wasn't necessary. That's one of the main reasons I'm running today, is because we need to get back to that Constitution, and that constitutional vote is very important to me. When each person takes an oath of office, they swear to uphold the Constitution against all threats, foreign and domestic. And that's an oath just like my wedding vows were an oath. And I've never broken my oath to you, Nancy, and I never will. And if I take that oath as an office as a senator, I will never break that oath either. And that means 100% of the time, I will vote constitutionally. Our current senator votes that way 73% of the time.
Senator, your response and your opportunity to speak on Obamacare.
Glad to. I'm not really sure what bill Mr. Love is referring to that required certain provisions in health care, because that's actually, that's the whole reason. That's what Obamacare does. Two things that it does: there's a mandate for purchase, and then the second thing is it specifies and very narrowly defines the type of insurance that qualifies for Obamacare. In the state Senate, here's some of the things that we have done to curb the influence of the federal overreach of Obamacare in our lives. Primarily, we have rejected time and time again the expansion of the Medicaid program. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the two programs called Medicare and Medicaid. We pay into the Medicare program during employment years, and then when we're retired after the age of 65, we reap the benefits of that payment previously. Medicaid is the state and federal partner health insurance policy for low-income individuals in the state of Oklahoma. Last year, Senator Kim David and I, along with several of our colleagues, introduced legislation that would completely reform and overhaul the Medicaid program in the state of Oklahoma. Right now, Medicaid is a system that is growing exponentially. There are now 800,000 Oklahomans that receive their health care through the Medicaid program. 800,000, and it's continuing to grow. Some of it is the woodwork effect of Obamacare, that mandate that you have to have health insurance. So individuals, when they go to sign up, realize, hey, I qualify for free government health care. So we've had the woodworking effect. And additionally, unfortunately in Oklahoma, we have a significant number of low-employed and underemployed individuals that qualify for Medicaid. The most expensive part of that program are our dual eligibles. Those are individuals that are both disabled and low income. They qualify for Medicaid and Medicare. So we have worked at the state level to reform those programs to focus on health, not just paying for services, and we'll continue to do that.
Thank you. Let's stay here briefly, because I can see you all are really working through this. We have a local hospital here, a hospital that we're very proud of. And it's been pretty successful for a very long time. Just like a lot of community hospitals in Oklahoma, rural community hospitals are beginning to struggle. When you see that we're not taking advantage of the federal monies that are given through Obamacare, we've rejected that. but yet we're expanding the Medicaid services in our state. It has a tendency to want to make it difficult for the local community hospitals to meet their bills and to continue to be viable. Give both of you an opportunity to speak on the expansion of Medicaid and how we fund that and how we get the funding into the rural communities. We'll start with you, Susan.
I'm going to stay seated. Can you guys hear me fine? I project pretty well. I go into teacher voice. One of the things that I'm very interested in seeing us continue work on is a program called Insure Oklahoma. Anybody ever heard about that? Insure Oklahoma is a waiver program. It is a combination of an employer paying part of a premium and an employee paying part of a premium. Then we use some matching funds through the Medicaid program, both state and federal monies. Obamacare does not like Insure Oklahoma because Insure Oklahoma is kind of the antithesis of this mandated type of insurance. The purpose of the Obamacare system is to drive us towards a single payer system. It's quite obvious. That's what we're trying to get. And when programs like Insure Oklahoma work, and by golly, they do work very, very well, we want to try to protect that program. We were able to achieve a 12-month continuation of our waiver last year. We're going to attempt to do that again, expand that waiver, keep Insure Oklahoma in place. Because hospitals like we have right here in Perry, they live and die by Medicaid and Medicare right now. What we really have to do is create another option. We need to create insured working individuals in this community. And because of Insure Oklahoma, this is a matching program that allows individuals that make as little as $12 an hour to qualify for health insurance, real health insurance. Not a government program. Protect Insure Oklahoma is probably one of our biggest priorities. We must protect that. It's what's going to keep rural health care available. The other thing is that we have control of is expanding services by creating creative solutions to service delivery. We don't necessarily need an MD. Maybe we can have a PA, physician's assistant. And we have the opportunity of the legislature to expand the scope of practice and so that less expensive providers can continue to provide the services that are needed in rural Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Ladd. I give you the same opportunity to address, a lot of us, our local hospitals important to us. And to make sure it remains viable throughout this changing tide of healthcare is important. Your response.
There was a lot of government programs just discussed. And I really think that what we need to do is get back to the free enterprise system. And that's why when I look at legislation, if I look at what I'm going to do as a senator, I'm looking at is, does it meet my Judeo-Christian values? Is it constitutional? Does it provide protection for Oklahomans against the federal government and their overreach? Is it financially responsible? And does it support small enterprise? This question is all about the local hospital. Local hospitals used to all be private enterprise, and it's nice to say we want to be able to have these plans and support, but we need to get going back to free enterprise and not having the government have its hands in everything. Our senator forgot the name of the bill that she voted for earlier. It was number 564, I believe. I have a printed copy of that. I'll have that on my desk here. And it's very important that you remember that because she told you what you could and couldn't get in your insurance. She's upset about Obamacare. As am I, and I think everyone in this room is disgusted with it. However, our senator and the rest of her people in the Capitol there decided to approve it. There were several people that voted against it, and I support those people. We cannot continue to let the federal government and our state government roll right into our lives and dictate what we can and can't buy. Free enterprise worked. It's what made this country great, and what continues to make the part of the country that's working great, and we need to free it up. So the hospital question is a difficult one because we all want to be healthy, but we've got to release them. And we see that very strongly in the Oklahoma surgery centers down in Oklahoma City. You can go in there and they have a menu. You can go online, look it up, Oklahoma surgery centers. If you have a surgical need, you will get it taken care of for a tenth of the cost than any other place is doing. So people are coming from all over our great union to Oklahoma to pay out of their pocket for surgeries at a tenth of the price of what you'd have to pay anywhere else with all these government programs and insurance.
Thank you. Let me just stop you there. We'll stay in the healthcare area, and this is a great question. And on the surface, it may seem a little silly, but I can tell you both that on a local level, it's very personal to several of us, and that deals with your position with medical marijuana. And not only the legalization of medical marijuana, but possibly the legalization of recreational use. And the farming, actually the growing and distributing of the hemp plant. Let's start with Senator. What's your position on that?
Thanks for that question. From a personal standpoint, I convened a group last year to look at a condition called the Dravet syndrome. Representative Casey and I, we shared a constituent who has a young granddaughter that suffers from this very severe form of epilepsy, and had opportunity to meet Zoe, and you can feel nothing but compassion for these children. And personally, have looked for creative solutions to try to find a way. There are people in Colorado that are claiming that there's a strain called Charlotte's Web that cures Dravet syndrome. And we've seen some anecdotal evidence that actually does occur. Missouri, a good friend of mine, this is Speaker of the House of Missouri, provided me a copy of a piece of legislation that they've developed that would allow those children to have access to that treatment, even though it's not available here in Oklahoma. They can travel to Colorado and bring it back. So we have situations that we really do need to investigate. However, it must be done using a scientific method. We have a lot of anecdotal information that's coming out of some of our neighboring states, wonderful stories. I had someone on the doorstep tell me the other day that there's evidence that THC cures cancer. And wouldn't that be an answer to prayers? If we could find a cure to cancer. However, it has to engage the scientific community in the state of Oklahoma to have us come up with a reasonable plan in order to make a change in our state law. We just need the evidence. We have all begged and pleaded for the evidence and haven't really received it yet. I listen to my constituents right now with regard to recreational marijuana. I hear a resounding no on recreational. But really, we've got to wait and see. We need to watch and see what happens in our neighboring states, and then make an educated, informed decision on how we proceed in Oklahoma.
Mr. Ladd, medical marijuana, recreational marijuana.
Let's save the time so we can get to questions.
What's the deal?
Senator Griffin and I agree very much on this. I was very surprised and pleased to hear her decision on that. I agree. The medical, I've met some of these children as well. I've met the parents of these children, and it's a shame that we're making them break our laws so that they can treat their child in the only way they've been able to find. And so I agree. Medically, we need to get scientific evidence before we make passing laws on this, but we need to evaluate it. We need to do it very soon because we have honest, good-working, hard Oklahomans that are breaking our laws against their conscience, but because morally they have to take care of their children first. And so I think Senator agrees with me on that. I agree with her as well. Recreational marijuana I would have to vote against. The constituents are against it. I'm personally opposed to it, and I see that that is not the way to go. I might step away from Senator Griffin slightly in that I'm opposed also to the medical marijuana becoming regulated by our federal government. It's a weed that can be grown in our backyards, and for these parents that need it, there's some justification for that, but then how do you control that? So there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of specifics that have to be worked out, but we do need to analyze this. We can no longer say, oh, it's a gateway drug, we can't look at it. When there is good evidence, not scientific yet, but there's lots of evidence by talking to these parents that we have to evaluate that this really does give hope, not only to these children that have these syndromes, excuse me, but also to our Vietnam vets that are the post-traumatic syndrome. They're suffering. They're seeing it. Excuse me. Public speaking is difficult at times, especially when your throat gives out. And so, I think there's opportunities there to evaluate it and see what we can do and control this, not just open the gate for it.
Thank you. So if we put up there on the board really the two big topics, particularly at the Capitol, you have healthcare. And the other big topic is altogether, please, education, of course. Mr. Ladd, let me just start with you. On an A to F scale, how do you grade the state of education in Oklahoma and why?
I give it an A for effort on our teachers. I see the superintendents and the way that they are taking funds away from our kids at an excessive rate, and I give them a C minus, a D. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And we need to really evaluate that, because it's easy to say our local superintendent's doing good, but when you look at the state's numbers, there's a lot of superintendents that are really abusing the system. Our children are worth investing into. We've got to get a system that works. We've got to do it locally. School board first, and at a state level looking at it in special standards, but we cannot let the federal government dictate what our kids learn. They are not looking out for our best interests. We need to stand up against that. The Common Core was a plan for selling programs, selling books. It's all put together with profit in mind and not with our children. We need to get the Oklahomans on this plan and get Oklahomans deciding how best to educate our children, and the teachers are doing an excellent job and are extremely underpaid.
Thank you. Senator, on the A to F scale, what's the state of education in Oklahoma and why?
Well, after this last session, I'd give us an incomplete, to be honest. We're kind of in flux. Obviously, it has been, for public school educators, been a very challenging several years. And we've kind of put them through the ringer with the word reform. And I have a feeling every school teacher in Perry, if they ever hear the word reform ever again, they're just going to run screaming from the building. What happened, and why I think we're incomplete, we got kind of complacent here in Oklahoma. We were doing a great job, we're clipping right along, we were being successful, and then we kind of got complacent. And so we came in with a lot of new reforms. Now remember, I was in the classroom for 8 years. So from a place of experience, having someone else to tell you how to do your job, who's never done it before, is extremely frustrating. And that's kind of where we went. Right now, I think we are becoming, we're right-sizing in the reforms that we have in the state of Oklahoma. We need to stay the course on higher standards, and we will stay the course. We have laid out House Bill 3399 that was passed and signed by the governor, lays out fairly clear, don't laugh at me, Dennis, when I say a fairly clear path towards developing Oklahoma's own standards. We need those standards. We need a reasonable testing program, creative in its application to our school districts. Maybe we randomize when a school takes a test. So at the beginning of the school year, you don't know if your third graders are going to take a test or your seventh graders are going to take a test. Maybe when we go to grade our writing tests, right now we're paying millions of dollars to outside company. Maybe instead we swap schools and we have the teachers in Morrison, which are very highly skilled. They're grading the writing for the teachers in Pawnee, and we swap. But we need to be more creative in application. We're gonna have finite funds available. We need to apply those funds in better ways. So how we spend money, I'm going to give us a D. How our teachers do in the classroom, Mr. Ladd's exactly right. They're fantastic. They're not the problem.
So, Mr. Ladd, let me ask you. There's a lot of talk. The legislature last year, of course, it was signed by the governor that we're not going to follow the Common Core standard that's set out by the federal government. A lot of people are proud of that. A lot of people invested, though, a lot of time and a lot of effort preparing for the Common Core standard. So the question out there still kind of looms. Did we eliminate Common Core in name only? Or did we truly eliminate Common Core and we're going to go develop our own standard that meets the needs of our Oklahoma children? Your response to that?
Thank you. Yeah, we've left our teachers hanging because they were finally figuring out what they were supposed to do. And as Senator Griffin said, the teachers are doing a well job, but we keep changing the plan on them. We probably have gotten rid of it in name only. And since we're talking to the Republicans, I want to say at this point I am with our governor. in taking so long to vote to sign that into legislation, because we made it very clear Common Core was not for our children. And she hesitated way too long. She is too tight with her friends there in Washington, D.C., and is hesitating too long. And as Republicans, we need to let her know how disappointed we are. We need to bring the, and I lost my train of thought because I was so disappointed with her delay on that. Because every door I knock on was asking about Common Core and where we go to. I think we've removed it by name only. And so what we need to do is make sure that those that get in and set standards and set curriculum and instruct our teachers on what the teachers are allowed to do. Release our teachers and liberty back to what they can do in the classroom and give them the freedom. They're not doing a job, they are answering a calling. If it was a job, they'd go get employed anywhere else because they'd make more money. They're there because they have a calling to instruct those children and they love it. And that's the hope that we have for not only our kids get it, but the teachers are willing to really get involved. And so we need to quickly bring together a new plan, but do it locally and make sure that the booksellers aren't involved in that program. Because if they are, what they try to do is sell you new books every 2 years, and that's where a lot of our money's going. We don't want them writing the curriculum. We want to do that here in Oklahoma and make sure it's printed in Oklahoma.
Senator, are we going to create our own standard as a state, or are we just going to adopt the Common Core and call it something else?
We'll be creating our own standards. There's already a plan laid out, 2 years. It names the stakeholders, the players, the teachers. It involves parents, teachers, stakeholders, and we're going to establish those own standards. But one of the things that I understand as a former classroom teacher is that the standard is the framework for what happens in the classroom. And the standard says, okay, by the end of this year, the kid needs to know how to do A, B, C, D, and F. Common Core says in one way, past standards say it the other way. The creative teachers, skilled teachers are probably not changing what they're doing in the classroom all that much. I hope that they're allowed at the local level, and I'm sure here in the communities in this county, that the principals and the superintendents are going to give them the freedom to get through the next 2 years while the new standards are being written and developed, and continue and make sure that we don't step backwards. They're instructed to go back to past standards. The evaluation of what happens in the classroom will be based on the past standard. But what the teacher does in the classroom with the activities, and those are still up to the teachers, and they're going to continue to do. Our kids will probably not notice a lot of difference, I'm hoping, in the next couple of years. With the skilled teachers in particular, they're going to continue to use their curriculum, they're going to continue to do the work in the class. That framework that they're working under, that is what will change. It goes back to past in the interim, and then we'll have a brand new set of standards in 2 years.
Thank you. We're running short on time again, and I hate that. I've got 2 more questions from the audience, and I don't know where these come from, and they may be very big people, and I don't want to make it bad. So let's try to answer these in a minute each, so I can get to the 2 of these and give you all an opportunity to wrap up. Fair enough? Let's start with you, Mr. Ladd, on this one. Do you view the ongoing militarization of the local police departments as a positive or a negative development? Why?
Well, thank you. You changed it a little bit last time. It was about the sheriff. My view on this is different, and it's I'm open to discussion on it. I see it 2 ways. I see that in the nation we have a lot of police that are militarizing their police. They're going in without a no-knock warning. They're just busting through. Civilians are getting shot because they're busting in the wrong house occasionally, and somebody breaks down your door, you start shooting if they haven't said police. So I'm hesitant saying yes on a broad base to let every sheriff and every police officer or police department get these vehicles. However, Guthrie recently purchased one. It's a $270,000 vehicle. He spent $2,000 on it. He got nothing but grief. I was thrilled he got it because I know who Damon is. I know where he lives, and I know where that vehicle is parked. And the reason that we have our Second Amendment and that it cannot be a fringe part is to be armed. And that's not armed so I can go hunting. That's armed so if the federal government is out of control, I can take it down. And a personnel vehicle like that, I want to know who has the keys for that. I don't want the feds being the only ones with keys.
Thank you. Senator, I'll give you just a little spill over a minute because Mr. Ladd took a little one to be fair. So the ongoing militarization of local police departments, you see it as positive or negative?
I'm going to say I've never been a law enforcement officer. Sheriff Hanger, I would probably defer to you on this. And I will say this, I think all of our counties and communities are different, and they vary from one to another. So what may be appropriate can vary based on the data, the crime that has occurred, the relationship with other law enforcement, the availability of resources at the state, from the state level. I mean, it's a big difference being in Texas County than it is being in Logan County, being right next to Oklahoma City. The one thing I could say about law enforcement in Oklahoma that I see that is amazing is the collaboration and cooperation we have between the levels of law enforcement, between our municipal law enforcement, the county level, our state police, the highway patrol. And so depending on where we were, it may be appropriate, it may not be appropriate. I would also say that I probably err on the caution, and I like shared resources. So it may not be appropriate for Billings to have an armored vehicle, but it might be for Garfield County to meet the needs of the entire county. So shared resources, local availability of things, and just what would be appropriate based on the local control.
Thank you. The final question from our audience this evening deals with the demise of our majority leader in Washington. What lessons do you draw for your candidacy from the primary defeat of Eric Cantor?
Well, one thing for everyone to realize, Virginia is an open primary state. It's one of, I think, 8. So in a primary in Virginia, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans are all voting in their primary. You can cross party lines. So that makes it even more interesting. What it says to me is, if I ignore Perry and just spend all my time in Oklahoma City, you're going to vote me out of office, and you should. My job is not in my, what's our office number? I don't know, 428B. That's not where my job is. My job is out here. My job is in the communities. And if you ignore your constituents, you are short-lived in this job. It was a wonderful reminder for all of us. Very interesting. I haven't read a little bit about it, but the fact that it was an open primary was very, very interesting to me, because apparently everybody was mad at him, not just the Republicans.
Okay, Mr. Ladd, 60 seconds your way. Primary defeat of Eric Cantor. What did you learn?
It shows me what I've learned knocking on every door. The American people are disgusted with D.C. They're disgusted with big government. And the reason we're disgusted is we've gotten away from the Constitution. It's a great plan our forefathers set up for us. We need to get back to it. Small government, liberties, free enterprise. Look out for our farmers. Environmental Protection Agency is killing our farmers here in Oklahoma. They don't have any right to do that. There's no constitutional right for the Environmental Protection Agency to come in here and do that. We need to stand up against it. So what we're seeing is Eric gets voted out because people are disgusted with the decisions that are being made, and it's because they're unconstitutional. And that's why I'm running. I want to get us back to the Constitution 100% of the time. If it's not constitutional, we can't vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Ladd. We'll be in the wrap-up session now. We'll limit you to about 2 minutes, and I'll have our countdown timers working. Your opportunity to reach out to those in the audience this evening, the last time to speak to them as a group.
I would stand for that because I've been sitting too long, and I'm sure you're looking forward to the break. But I really appreciate you coming out tonight and hearing what we have to say. And I was thrilled with one of the ladies out in front correcting me right off the bat. I said, well, I hope you enjoyed tonight. She says, I'm not here to enjoy it. She's here to be educated and to learn and to decide who I'm going to vote for. And that thrilled me. I said, absolutely. You guys could be watching the World Cup at home, but you're here learning. I appreciate you coming out. We're in times where we can't maintain status quo. We're in days when we cannot just say, well, it's been working, let's see what happens. We need to turn the ship around. I don't think we can turn our nation fast enough, but we can turn the state of Oklahoma. And that's why I chose to run. It was a tough one. I really hesitated. My wife and I spent a lot of time praying and thinking and discussing and asking and getting advice from others and saying, what should we do? And I felt like I had to. Because I don't want to be sitting in a rocking chair in 30 years saying, shoot, we could have done something for our state. And that's why I'm running. And it's been thrilling to meet Oklahomans. It's been thrilling to knock on doors and go out on the farm and wait for him to make another furrow and be able to say, what can we do for you? What's your story? What do you need? And what they need is freedom. They need liberty. And it's given to us in the Constitution. And I love the fact that we can do that. And there's a lot of other people that think the way I do too. And I think there's a lot in this crowd that think that way. And what we need to do is get together and say we're not going to sit and watch our TV in the evening and drink their Kool-Aid. We're going to get together and say, yes, we can get back to the constitutional values that our forefathers set up. That's why they gave us our Constitution.
Thank you. Senator, your summation.
Thanks, nice job, Mr. New Republican. I want to talk to you all about you. I got to tell you, being on the campaign trail, I am so tired of talking about myself. I am sick of me. I really am. I want to talk about you because what I do is about you all. It's about Oklahoma. I have worked my entire life to be a servant leader and continue to do that. I hope in the 2 years that you have allowed me to serve you as your senator that I've made you proud. My colleagues have put me in positions to have influence over the process that we have in the state of Oklahoma. And what I want is 4 more years to continue to work on several things. And I'm going to go over those really quickly. There are 4 of them. The first one is education. 8 years in the classroom. I have 2 girls that are in school right now. I have lived that job, and I feel like I have a lot to offer in how we should do this better so that we're in charge, but we're not shortchanging our kids. Secondly, we need to work on our infrastructure. The state of Oklahoma ignored for about 50 years our infrastructure. Roads and bridges, and the ignored part of our infrastructure, and that's our state employees. State employees went 6 years without a raise. Our troopers state troopers were the 13th highest paid law enforcement in the state of Oklahoma. And these guys are highly, highly skilled. That is part of our infrastructure, our state employees. How are we treating them? Are we keeping good people? Thirdly, it is health care. Folks, we spend an exorbitant amount of money on health care. We have to get a handle on that. And fourthly, it is federal overreach, the pushback. Do you know how we push back against the federal government? We make Oklahoma the strongest state that it can be. We can't push back against the federal government when we are a recipient state. We send them more money, or send them less money than they give, more money. We get more money than we send them, that's what I'm trying to say. We are a recipient state. We can no longer do that. We have got to grow our economy so that we can be in charge. And that's the key. The economy is the key. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, folks. We've heard now from both candidates for Senate District 20. We were honored to have both of you, Senator A.J. Griffin and Challenger Dan Ladd. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. All's going to be great, and here we are with our representatives for District 38, House of Representatives for the state of Oklahoma, all of Grant County and part of Noble, Kay, and Logan and Garfield counties. We have with us to my right Ralph Meade, John Pfeiffer, close enough, Harold LeValley, Roy Chaney on my left, Niki Schrader, and Jason Warren. Warren, thank you very much. Too many Warrens and Warrens in Perry. Getting confused. All right, so let's give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. I know I need it. These are new faces even to me. So we'll start over here on my right. And if you don't mind, I'll use first names if I won't offend anybody. Ralph, let's start with you.
Okay. I am Ralph Meade. I'm a common sense conservative. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I thank the owner of the building. This is a super facility. I've been here before. It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lorena, and your Republican group. And thank you so much to the Republican women. I have thoroughly enjoyed the cookies. I am a common sense conservative Republican. I'm here with my wife, Chaney, 34 years. We have 2 daughters and a son-in-law. And we're soon to welcome, in October, our first grandchild. We're really excited. We live on our farm there about 5 miles from where my great-grandparents homesteaded in 1893. So I'm a fourth generation Oklahoman. I attended OSU and am a member of Ag Leadership Oklahoma. I'm a farmer and a businessman. I'm a Christian. We attend the First Baptist Church there in Medford. Been a conservative Republican for 31 years. Very proud of it. And you're going to love it. It's going to be great for you. I've served on many boards, wheat growers, Griffin County Farm Bureau, American Farmers and Ranchers, served on committees for Governor Keating, common sense conservative. Glad to be here.
Thank you, John. Your turn.
Like I said, my name is John Pfeiffer. I'm from right over here in Mulhall, Oklahoma, and I'm very happy to be here tonight because this is about the closest one of these that we've had to my house. So I'm happy to be the one making the short trip home tonight, and my mom's real happy because I told her I'd pick up pizza at Pizza Hut and she wouldn't have to cook. So it's going to work out good for the whole family here. Like I said, I'm from Mulhall, Orlando, grew up over there, 5th generation farmer. My family's been raising Angus cattle down there since 1907. So did all the fun stuff, 4-H and MFA. I liked that in high school, played a little high school basketball until they pretty much told me I wasn't good enough. And to get kicked off the Mulhall Orlando Panthers basketball team, you've got to really not be good enough. They said to concentrate on FFA and cows because I was good at that. Then I went to Oklahoma State University for a little while. I was on the 2007 livestock judging team, and then went into the United States Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 4.5 years and deployed to Afghanistan back in 2011. So just happy to be back here in Oklahoma and ready to continue on with my service and do something where I can really focus on rural Oklahoma where my passion is. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for keeping it short. The timing has been great. Harold, let's turn to you now.
Okay, I am Harold LeValley. I'm from Bremen, and I grew up in the north part. I am an educator. I've been in education for close to 30 years, teacher, coach, administrator, and I am pro-life. Second Amendment, I support education. I'm not a politician. I'm just a country boy with some political ideas. And I do want to thank everybody for putting this on that has been involved. And go on.
Thank you very much. Roy, your turn.
Thank you. My name's Roy Chaney. I'm from Newkirk. I'm currently the mayor of Newkirk, but I'm a lifelong educator, 42 years, just retiring from Northern Oklahoma College. I had the opportunity before, and that's just kind of tell you how old I am, before we had cameras. I actually taught class here at Perry High School during the lunch hour for Northern Oklahoma College. We had bank employees and high school students, and it was a great experience. And then they put in cameras, and that kind of changed it. I do have to share with you quickly one very important story in my life. This summer, I will have been married to my wonderful wife, Nancy, for 40 years. Our first date took place at Perry, Oklahoma, on Valentine's Day. I always can remember the anniversary of my first date. Being a poor teacher, I brought her to a basketball game because teachers get in free. I was coming anyway. So all I was out was, back in the old days, again, how old I am, 25-cent Coke. But I've been paying for it for 40 years now. But 2 wonderful sons. David is here with me this evening, and one of my 5 grandchildren that have helped out on the trail often. Mason is here, and I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward, and I really thank you for coming out. It makes a difference when people are here to ask and to listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki, let's turn to you now.
All right, my name is Niki Schrader. I'm from Kremlin, Oklahoma, Meade. So I'm right in the country there. My husband and I were both born and raised on the farm, and we continue that legacy with our kids. It's a fabulous life that we have really enjoyed with them. I also am an educator. I have 4 kids in the current school systems. So all the way from college to middle school. So it is something that we live on a daily basis at our house. And so I'm very, very passionate about what's going on with education. And I've spent enough time sitting around with all the mamas talking about it, saying, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that. And so I decided, along with my family, that it's time to get in there and do something about it. We also went on a little trip, my husband and I, and a bunch of other, my husband's a physician in Enid. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Schrader, he's a cardiologist in Enid. Anyway, so our family, we had gone on a trip with a couple other doctors. It was an administration meeting, kind of trying to talk about what's coming down the pike with Obamacare, which nobody really knows because no one really read it all. And if you have, everyone, you hear little things about how it can't be true because it's so bad. Anyway, so on the plane ride home, I'm listening to the doctors talk about this, and I'm hearing about the uncertainty and how they're being told what they can and can't do. My husband's a farm boy, like I told you. He likes to spend lots of time with his patients. He's being told, you can't do that. You have to get them in and you have to get them out. So after sitting there listening to that, I thought they need a voting voice who will be down there to represent them, and because they don't have time. I mean, they're busy filling out the paperwork and trying to see all their patients. And so I thought, okay, I need to be there for my kids for education, and I need to be down there for the doctors to, be a voice for them because they don't have the time. So now we have teachers and doctors that both need to be represented down there, which anyone, everyone can do very well. We also are farmers and rangers, and so we also have to deal with EPA stuff. I'm so tired of the federal government, as I'm sure y'all are. I would love to see their reach not be quite so much where it is. So I'm definitely for the Constitution. I definitely would like to make it a little bit more evident that that's what we need to be following. So, and I also been driving all these nasty roads with implements and stuff, and so I'm right along with y'all, bouncing down these roads. It's time to do something about them. So, trying to get the money back to the local government.
Thank you very much. Jason, let's turn to you now to wrap things up on introductions.
Hi, I'm Jason Warren. I live in Deer Creek, Grant County, 36 years old. I've worked hard my whole life. I started working when I was very young. At 13, I got my first job for a non-family member. I worked on the farm until I was 22, and then I started working in a factory, Asbury Machine, Troop Rock Bit. I still work there today. It's my current employment. I'm a constitutional-minded conservative. I will always uphold the Constitution. It's so important these days. We've gotten too far away from it. Opposed to Common Core. I'm glad that it stopped for now, but the name's going to be changed. It'll probably be back. Obamacare, we all know it's terrible. We need to stop the mandates and penalties. I'm a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. That includes access to ammunition. I mean, how hard is it to get 22 shells these days? An active shooter like me, it's gotten very difficult. And the checks and balances system has been disabled in so many ways. We need to get back to using the 10th Amendment and nullification of the federal government, like the EPA laws against coal or the farming dust or so many other things. It's just ridiculous. We do not need that agency anymore. Or the IRS, the way they're attacking Tea Party groups and pro-life groups, that's a misuse of government. That should never be going on. And so that's basically why I'm doing it, to enforce the Constitution, and I feel it's my civic duty to be here tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Isn't it wonderful that we have such a selection? I mean, it's just if we stop right here, it'd be a great evening. Just that you were willing to put your hats in the ring and go for it, and I'm proud of each and every one of you. Let's jump right in with the questions from the audience. Of course, education is important to all of them out there. We're back on the Common Core. Did Mary Fallon do the right thing? John, let's start with you.
I think we absolutely did the right thing with doing away with Common Core. We need to come up with Oklahoma standards for Oklahoma schools. And this is an issue that gets tossed around our house and talked about a whole lot. My dad was a principal there at Orlando High School before he retired. My mom sits on the local school board. And my cousin Jolene, who used to be the basketball and math teacher here in Perry, is the principal down there now. So we talk about education quite a lot. We need to make sure that we continue to continue to develop curriculum that's what we need here in Oklahoma, not what the federal government's trying to get us to use and swallow, because our needs in Oklahoma are different. We need to get more control back in the local schools and back with the local school boards and administrators, and back in the classroom with the teachers, and get these federal mandates out of our classrooms.
Thank you. Harold, did we do the right thing?
I do think we did. We do need standards, and you can call them what you want, whether they're Common Core or whether we come up with completely different ones. However they are changed. You've got to have the standards for the teachers to teach to the kids to learn. And Common Core, I was a principal there at Blackwell for 4 years before I retired, and 10 years before that I was the assistant principal. And Common Core, I think, was thrown out at the teachers before it was ready. Had it all been ready and things were in a different fashion, maybe it would have been all right. but it still goes back to the standards for our kids. I don't think that if you judge Oklahoma kids against other states, Oklahoma kids are going to come out in the top. So the standards, if they are different, they need to be what Oklahoma needs. But we do need to compare to other states because we do have a world economy. And so I think what we need to back off on rather than the standards so much is the testing.
Thank you, Mayor. Your insight on Common.
Well, I agree. My only concern was that Governor Fallon took a few more days than I would have preferred. But she did do her due diligence. She talked to people. I think that's what an elected official does. I think she made the right decision. We cover a lot of territory in our family. My wife has taught kindergarten, first, second, third. She's a reading specialist, been director after school program. I've taught driver's ed, history, government in 3 public schools. I've been administrator from the junior high principal up to an assistant superintendent. Last 24 years, Northern Oklahoma College, as I said. And I can tell you, as I believe you know, the problem in education is not with the teachers. They're dedicated overwhelmingly. I know how much my wife spends out of my pocket. I like to say it's her pocket too, for those kids. And I know almost every teacher does. I think where we're failing in Oklahoma is too much emphasis on test and a failure of administration. We need to let teachers teach. We need to give guidance. Harold's correct. We must have an evaluation, but we do have. We've had. It's quite good. I think it can be better, as everything is, and we will set Oklahoma standards.
Ms. Schrader, Common Core.
I definitely think getting rid of Common Core was a good idea. One thing that makes me just a little bit concerned as we set up the new standards is I heard the senator say that they were planning on getting it out in 2 years. Well, if it's not ready to be out in 2 years, I don't want to see us make the same mistake as we made with Common Core and throw it out there and throw it out to the teachers before it's even perfected and ready. So I think we need to be really, really careful as we get ready to set our new standards that we look at all the ins and outs and all the avenues, and we look at the different things that are going to be needed, both for Tulsa and Oklahoma, and also for rural Oklahoma, because we have different needs out here, and there's different standards and there's different ways that we need to be teaching these kids. And so I think that that's something that we need to take into consideration. So I think as if I'm elected to get down there, I think I'll work very well with whoever is elected as a superintendent. But I also think that hopefully the Board of Regents can also be brought in, because I think we also need to make sure that the teachers that are coming out of the Teachers College are well educated in order to implement the new system that we have put in there, and make sure that they have the ability to do the writing skills and things, because I've heard over and over again, and I've seen a lot of kids come out without the writing skills that they need. And so how do we expect them to teach the writing if they don't know how, if they aren't experts in that as well? So whether that's an extra course that they take in order to help them become more comfortable with it. Not that they're not good writers, but they can always be perfected. I know I could always be working on writing skills, speaking skills. Those are all things that always need to be perfected. So I think we need to look at the big picture of it, not just students, not just teachers, not just administration, but look at how this is all going to work together in different avenues of the city, of the country, of the rural, of the college, because we're all one big unit in this state, and we need to figure out what works for each area.
Thank you. Jason, your turn, sir.
Okay, well, eventually the right thing was done. I'm glad to see that. I'm opposed to any federal one-size-fits-all top-down scheme for education. Do we even need a federal Department of Education anymore? Local people can decide. Parents, teachers, school board, they know what's best. So, I mean, we need standards so the product we put out, which is an educated populace, is good. I mean, that's the main thing, is what are the results? And if our states do something different than other states, we've got competition now, so we can see what works best. And so, basically, local control is the most important.
Thank you, Ralph. You have the last word on Common Core.
Okay. Back in December last year, as all of you remember, Mary Fallon, Governor, signed Executive Order 2013-40, which did away with Common Core. but of course it took much longer to kill, you know, kind of like one of them snakes out in the garden. But it's finally dead, and she did the right thing. It surprised me how long it took her. I'm going to have a train, so I'm going to raise my voice a little more. We will set up Oklahoma standards, I've been saying for quite a while, and we have to. You know, we have to have an education system that deals with education using conservative values, those being accountability and parental control. And we will. We'll set up those standards. Guys, it's always going to be testing. Maybe we go back to number 2 lead pencils instead of computers. Maybe they won't break down, but there will always be testing of kids. So long as there's a teacher. I've never met a teacher, and I've got several of them here, but there's teachers like to test. So we're always going to have tests, but we'll have Oklahoma standards, and by golly, they're going to be conservative standards this time.
Thank you. Harold, this next question comes from our audience, and it talks about giving choices for other ways to educate our children. Specifically, this is dealing with the charter school question and vouchers. If Ditch Witch declared their intention to open a charter school dedicated to engineering and construction trades, would you support that, and why?
In some communities, that might work. In the small communities that we have, such as Bremen, Small Orlando, Deer Creek, Lamont, I don't think that will work because there's not enough kids. One school or the other is going to be hurt as far as the money. And where there are kids, where there are enough numbers, that is something that may work. We have the math and science school in Oklahoma City, and you know, there's kids from Blackwell that go there. There's kids from all over that go there, but it's not a school that is right there in that community competing. And a school like that would be great. It would be great if we could afford to do that in maybe something like that in each county. But it would take a lot of thought and preparation, I think, to make that work so that you could have 2 schools in the same community. You've got to have kids to go there. You still have to have enough. Would Ditch Witch have a school if they had 5 kids that wanted to do that?
The answer is no.
And in the smaller communities, there's not that number. You know, if there were 1,000 kids, that would be easy to figure out. But we're limited with that out here.
Thank you. Roy, vouchers, charter schools, where do you shake out?
Well, a few years ago, I had the honor of teaching soldiers in Afghanistan. Fortunately for myself, I didn't have to face the danger that they were facing daily because we did it through a computer. If this question had been asked 20 years ago, my answer would have been probably pretty simple. But with my experience and the changing environment of education, I think that one size simply does not fit all. As Harold was talking, and having always chosen to be in small schools, that's the life of the community, that team. Be good or bad, John, that's our team, and we're going to support them. And our mascot and our colors. And if you lose that, you lose your community. So certainly no one in education, I can believe, would want that. But at the same time, we have those that have students that need a different opportunity. And so homeschooling, the charter, virtual charter, I mean, we have choices in Oklahoma, and we need to hold them to standards, same testing. It's not a free ride, it's not free money. But in some regard, I began to change. As an old administrator, we kind of always look at that's our money, brick and mortar. But isn't it the students' and the parents' money and should they not have a voice? I've come to that conclusion, and I am fairly getting more open about opportunity and parental choice.
Thank you, Nikki. Are there alternatives to public education?
There's absolutely other alternatives to public school. Within the same school, even within small schools, I think there's lots of different options. The one-room schoolhouse worked really, really well back in the day, right? So even if you had a small school with a limited number of kids, you easily could have one teacher follow like 1st through 3rd grade, and then you would have another 1st through 3rd grade that they could go along with their traditional class. Also, it's a way to save money if you wanted to go ahead and group your kids into a smaller group. And that teacher stays with those kids for 3 years. And they learn and they grow together. And the older kids are teaching the younger kids. And you're probably going to have less of a gap of kids that aren't learning. That's one way to get something like that in. Ditch Witch, if you decided you wanted to do a charter type school. If the community can't support a charter school, there's a lot of kids that want to take AP classes and the school can't support an AP program. That's an opportunity for Ditch Witch to come in and say, oh listen, I would love to support an AP program in this school that focuses on engineering, that focuses on more math, bring in those excellent teachers and get that program going. It could be something that's open to an opportunity to anyone within the county or within the state, anyone who wants to come. Or you could open up a school that allows them to come to a science and math school similar to OSSM where they don't have to live there. So I think the thing that we have to remember when it comes to schools is there's lots and lots of options. You just have to be willing to see that there's a problem and that there's lots of ways to come to a solution to it. And that doesn't always fit the little box that you think it is, but there's always a way to figure it out if you're willing to compromise and you're willing to talk it out. So I've seen a lot of things work, so I'm anxious to see what we can do.
Hey, Jason, should we be able to take public school money and move it to an alternative education method?
Well, it's a situational question. If Ditch Witch wants to build a charter school here in Perry, I think that's a great idea. I mean, he's investing in American innovation. That's extremely important. Now, you get into Grant County and all the flat places out there, charter school's not going to work. They're already crumbling schools. So it's situational. In an area this size, yeah, that'd be really great. And as far as vouchers go, I support the voucher system. I believe it'll guarantee these small schools stay open. And it will also take away the punishment now of homeschooling. Because if you homeschool, you're kind of being punished because you're paid into a system and not getting anything out. So under this, they get a voucher as well.
Thank you. Ralph, your take on these options.
Charter schools. First of all, I want to applaud Ditch Witch on this new wonderful charter school. Very soon. Thank you for your civic mindedness. I appreciate it. Wonderful. You know, I caught Janet Breesy the other day at a function, and I hadn't met her before, and I grilled her. I grilled her pretty hard. I asked a lot of tough questions. And a lot of them were charter schools. Charter schools are a wonderful thing. They are super. We can take a school. Our public schools are set up that every child that walks through the door, the teachers have to educate. And it doesn't make any difference what their background is. And it doesn't make any difference what their ability is. These teachers have to teach every child. And it's difficult. It's very difficult. I'm glad I'm not a teacher. I don't have the patience. But charter schools will always be here because we have an opportunity now, as Jack Breesy tells me, to have virtual charter schools in every single district within the state of Oklahoma. Because, you know, most importantly to Ralph, is I want every kid in District 38 to have the same opportunity, to have the very best education as any kid in Tulsa or Oklahoma City or any other school district. I want us to have the same opportunity. And with these virtual charter schools, we can have them within our school. As Roy said, wonderful thing. Education, you know, is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for a better life, more money, and education is what we have to do. Oh, sorry, I'm too late. That's right. Wasn't looking the right way.
Good catch, though, John. You had the last one.
As far as charter schools go, they recently tried to pass this through the House of Representatives, the opportunity to open charter schools up across the state, and it really kind of broke down upon rural and urban lines. I don't believe charter schools will work in rural Oklahoma. I really don't. We just don't have enough kids. Instead of having one school that's already struggling with funding to fund the teachers, the books, the educational material they need, you have two schools that really start to struggle. And in some of these cases, I think charter schools, instead of fixing the problem we have in our current schools, we're just going to open new schools. Well, let's go back and fix the problems we have in public education right now. And especially, in these rural parts of the district. Because we already have, in a lot of parts of the district, kids on the school bus, 45 minutes, 30 minutes an hour. They're not going to get any closer. So we have to fix the schools we already have. We need to stop the waste. We need to restructure the way, if we need to restructure the way we do administration and look at different ways to get the money back into the classroom. So let's fix the schools we have and quit trying, I support anybody's choice to educate their kids, but we can't ignore our obligations to the schools we already have.
Thank you. Roy, I know you joined me in being truly thankful for the rains that we've had of late. We are truly blessed that it's coming in big waves now, but nonetheless, we still are struggling with water issues. And I know that in this area, particularly in the district, that depends so much on farming and manufacturing, water is important. A question from our audience related to your thoughts of moving water from eastern Oklahoma to western Oklahoma, but to carry it a little deeper, is conservation the answer? Is it moving water? What can we do to be more proactive to be in the right place when these drought conditions start to arise?
That's a wonderful question, and I know as Mayor of Newkirk, we're not having to worry about moving water. We're just worried about being able to drink it and not gag. We're doing an engineering study, citizens, as you are wonderful people, you want it fixed now. And the reality is, water is going to be one of the #1 issues in the future. And I hate to break it to you, if this is the first time anyone's ever told you, it's going to be expensive. And your water is going to be more than gasoline, it's going to be more than milk, but it is vital. And the question deals with economy. You have to have water to produce food. You have to have water in many of your manufacturing endeavors. And so we do have to develop plans. I think we have to be very cautious about there's that issue on the border sometimes of water going to the highest bidder. I think we've got to close, it's one of those things that I think we've got to close our borders to more than one thing, and leaving our water is one of them. We have Call Lake up in our area, and Stillwater and Ponca City are the two cities that have that right to get that water, and I believe that Stillwater is the only city actually using that. And so that's an issue. Again, as it has been said this evening, it takes long-range planning. You're going to have to protect, and this is where I really disagree with the EPA on a lot of things. Farmers know best. They're not going to put themselves out of business. They're going to be careful with the resources. And so, I really think we've got to be careful about over-regulating, but it is a big problem. If I really had a quick answer, I'd give it to you, but I don't. Honestly.
Niki, water, I need it. Where do I get it?
Right now, right here. Pray real hard. I don't know. I agree completely with Mr. Chaney. I mean, there is not an easy answer to this. You can rob Peter to pay Paul, but eventually it's all going to end up being the same issues. And so I think we have done, as farmers, some really great things. We no-till farm. That does help conserve the water. It does help with the amount of fertilizer you put on. It does help with all those type of issues. And so, I mean, I think as our family anyway, that's what we do, and I think it's becoming more of a trend in Oklahoma as well. It also takes care of the other big EPA issue of the whole dust. I mean, it helps with that. Granted, our roads make, I think, almost more dust than our fields do, but from that nice white rock that they put on. But I agree, there's not a quick and easy solution to this other than, get on your knees and start praying, and maybe God will bless us with an abundance of water. But, it's just, there's not an easy answer to this one.
Jason, water?
Well, it's a difficult question, and as far as water goes, we're just going to have to wait for the Lord to dump some water up there. I mean, is it really the role of government to bring water out there? Can't we let the free market, if we're talking about piping water, we're talking about trucking water out there, what exactly are we talking about is my question. But I mean, if we're going to haul water out from municipalities, let a trucking company do it. But other than that, government can't control the rain, so we'll just have to let it ride.
Ralph, is it doable to bring water from eastern Oklahoma over into our neck of the woods?
Well, I hope so. Last year I got a notice from my rural water district last summer. They said, Ralph, not only can you, there's that train. Got the train. I got plenty of water. We got a notice that our rural water may well be cut off this summer. Said you've got about 2 weeks if it doesn't rain, and we're gonna shut you off. And of course, my wife and I, that's the only water we have to drink. Our farm's situated out there on the prairie, and we've had all of our neighbors that can water witch come out and check, and there's no place to drill a well to get any water. We do have an old well. It's about 50 foot deep, and it's pure salt water. So water is certainly important. I just last month I was arguing for a while with some of the folks on the Water Resources Board from far eastern Oklahoma. We argued for just a few minutes, pretty loud, and we were talking about water. They had it, we wanted it, and we had a problem. But after a few minutes, they said, the East would be glad to give you all of their excess water. Now, excess water to them is water that is going to go down the Red River and turn into salt water and be not fit for human consumption. I've also heard the plan that we can drain the wetland prairies in Canada, and there's only one little small 30-mile stretch that we'd have to pump the water over one hill, and we could put it in a canal and bring it all the way to Oklahoma. All those are important. We had a plan 40 years ago. We built lakes in the east. The same plan could be used today because the same plan included lakes in the west. And that's important. If we had lakes in the west, we'd have more rainfall in the west, which is important. And so, did I get that train time? Okay. But yeah, we all need water. It's going to be a long-range plan.
John, your turn.
As far as water goes, this is going to be the biggest issue that faces not only agriculture, but probably the whole state of Oklahoma in the near and long-term future. Like Ralph said, like Ralph said, building lakes in the west is going to be a good idea, but then we have to be sure we keep the water where it's needed. We don't want it to turn into Canton Lake, where they collected all the money from Oklahoma City all those years, and then when they needed the water, they sold it down there to fill Lake Hefner so they could sell a bunch of boats around and stuff like that. We need to continue to practice good water conservation here, and in terms of shipping the water from the eastern part of the state to the western part of the state, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't know exactly how we're going to pay for it, but before we do that, we've got to concentrate on our rural water districts here at home. When these rural water districts were put in, they were not designed to carry the kind of loads they're having to carry now. There's places in Logan County where they will not allow them to fill up fire trucks off of rural water because the pipe simply won't handle it. We're going to have to upgrade our water infrastructure starting with rural water, especially if we want these communities to continue to grow out like they've continued to grow. Municipalities need to continue to start thinking long-term about their water infrastructure. Where is it going to come from? Do we need to start looking for different sources? Do we need to build a reservoir? Do we need to clean out the reservoir we have? Is there an opportunity for state or federal grants to help us there? Because there is some of that people haven't used. And there's money in these rural water districts that haven't been used to upgrade the infrastructure. All in all, we need to come up with some sort of state comprehensive water plan, but more than that, these individual rural water districts have to start thinking about how we need to upgrade their systems and kind of carry forward into the future.
Thank you, Harold. Last word goes to you.
I think it's pretty much all been said. I can see the people in the eastern part of the state saying, why in the world would somebody go out in the western part of the state and want to live out there where it's flat and dirty and dry and all that? People in the west will say, why would they go to the east with all the trees and the hills? But we still are one state, and it's something that is going to be a long-term problem. It's already a problem. It's going to be a long-term fix. I know Tonkawa and south of Tonkawa, east of Tonkawa, and over towards Ponca City, they were worried about the aquifer there. And there is a study going on with that as to how much can be pulled out of it. And I'm sure there are studies going out in western Oklahoma as far as the aquifers out there, how much can be pulled. And there is more irrigation being done. We live right on the river up by Bremen on the Shikaski River. And I know there are at least, I think it's up to 10 or more now, circles that are pulling out of the river. And Blackwell and Bremen use the river water for the rural water. And it gets down to where that river's not flowing very much during the summer now. So those are problems that are real, and I think like the others have said, water is going to become high-priced. It's going to take a lot of planning and resources and to make things continue to work.
Thank you. Okay, let's go into a speed round. Speed round. These are quick questions. If I get these two asked, I'll make the audience happy, and hopefully I won't make my boss too mad that I'm 30 minutes over. So let's do this. Speed round. Try to keep it to about 30 seconds. These are simple yes or no questions with a little bit of add if you want it. I know we've heard some of these buzzwords, some of us more than others. You've heard texting, you've heard tweeting, you've heard twerking. This is vaping. So the big question is on vaping. Do we treat vaping, the electronic cigarettes, the same as regular smoke cigarettes? Niki, it's up to you.
I am not a smoker, and I'm not well educated on the vapor smoking as well. But I do know that I once let my humidifier get too dirty, and it affected my lungs. So I don't know if that has anything to do with sucking the vapor out of the cigarette or not, but I do know that it's a lot less invasive than a cigarette. So if you have to have a cigarette, I guess it's something in your mouth and the straw doesn't do it for you with the Coke, then I guess a vapor cigarette would be better to me than a regular one.
Jason, you're a vaping fan?
Vaping is a safer alternative than smoking, so I support it. I mean, cigarette smoke, I grew up around it, you know, and it's kind of tough going to school smelling like cigarettes and all that kind of stuff, so that takes a lot of that out, you know. But so far, it's shown to be safer, so I mean, they might as well do it. It's their personal choice.
Thank you, Ralph. Vaping.
Well, you know, if it helps some people to quit smoking, you know, that's great. You know, that and Nicorette gum, whatever, will help them to quit smoking. And that's very important. You know, we need to set up standards. From what I understand, we've had some trouble. And I did notice that the city of Guthrie no longer allows vaping in their parks. Just recently.
Thank you, John.
I think it's a personal choice issue. It'll be up to each city community to figure out where their stance on it is. And
Harold.
I think it is personal choice still, and if it's something that will help prevent some of the cancer that we have that runs rampant, it's probably good. I can't say that I'm too educated on vaping, so.
Mayor?
What you do in your home on those regards, I would not have any say-so. I don't think we should. But in public, I'm not sure from the data I've read that it is determined whether it's safe or not. And if I'm going to err with public, I'm going to say no. I know Northern Oklahoma College, we had students saying, well, this isn't smoking. Well, within a week, we had a rule. It's also not allowed to vape.
Jason, we started out tonight, and you actually commented on it, so I know where you're going to be on it, but I'll give everybody an opportunity. It's the right to bear arms, big boy. What do you think?
Of course, absolutely. It's a major right we need, you know, to be able to defend ourselves and our families. It's a long tradition. Everyone I know is a shooter, and we enjoy shooting. And a lot of people are into reloading and things like that now, so, yep, I'm for it. Absolutely.
Ralph, shoot, no shoot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody should own 1 to 14 or 20. I know I do. And yeah, shooting's great. The right to bear arms to protect our citizens.
John, how do you stand?
I definitely stand for the right to bear arms. Out where we live, having firearms is a necessity. Heck, part of the reason I joined the Marine Corps so I could actually learn to hit coyotes instead of just chasing them around.
Harold.
I do support the Second Amendment. I've said before that I would love to have half of what my oldest son that's in the Army has put into guns. If I had half of that, I'd be pretty well off.
Roy, how do you like those guns?
I like them. I'm an NRA member. I have my license in my billfold, my guns in the glove box.
Niki, are you packing?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, I'm not that for the speed round, right? All right, so let's get to the wrap-ups, and we'll get people home and feeling good about themselves. Let's start down here with Jason. Jason, if you want to take let's make it a little quicker because we're short on time. About a minute and a half, if you would, please. Go ahead and cover what we left out and plead for votes. After you.
Well, I'm a constitutional conservative. I've been endorsed by the Oklahoma Conservative Political Action Committee. Excuse me. You know, states' rights, we need to bring that back in. Checks and balances system has been disabled. It's going to be so important over the next decade or so. I really feel like that's going to be our key issue. That's really my main things. If you want to know anything more about me, give me a call. I always hand out my number and everything else. It's 580-267-3200. And I'm at work till 5, so call me after then. But I'll definitely call you back. So anything you have, I'd love to hear from you. I'm a working man, so I'm not out going door to door as much as I'd like to, but please give me a call if you want to know more. Thank you.
Ralph, go ahead and wrap up.
I am Ralph Meade. I want to thank you again to Lorena and the Republican group. Also want to thank our moderator. I think he's done a super job. Really appreciate him. I'm Ralph Meade of 4th generation Oklahoma. Oklahoma's my home. It's where I was raised. It's where I've raised my family. It's where I started my farm, started my business. I've got a lot of Oklahoma roots and values. I'm an Okie, and I'm proud of it. Believe in limited government, like everybody knows, individual liberty, natural God-given rights, and personal responsibility. Pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. I believe in also protecting Oklahoma's rights from intrusion from our federal government and our federal courts. Oklahoma's got a lot of great resources, abundant resources, but most importantly, I think, is our people. We've got a lot of hardworking people, and they all have those Oklahoma values, which we all share, which is very, very important. And all of those people want Oklahoma to be the very best state in the union, and I think we can be that because our economy is strong. Our state budget is higher than it's ever been. But you know, we've always got a lot of problems. But you know, as a farmer and a rancher, one night we lost 18 quarters a week one night. That was a problem. And because of that, I'm used to solving problems. As a realtor, I'm used to negotiating. I've got buyers and sellers, and they both have their own thing, and they want, you know, what they want. And it's my job to get them together, to bring them together, to negotiate a solution to the problem. And that's what I'll do at the state legislature.
Thank you, John. I've got to stay with my
like
time.
I said, my name's John Pfeiffer. I'll try to keep this short. You know, we've got a lot of good things, real positive things going on here in the state. The number one of which, that just happened over the last couple of weeks, is we finally got some rain. And I don't know about the rest of you, but life's been so much better around my house now that we got a little pond water that everybody's a little happier. I kind of got a hard time seeing the downside of a lot of things. And yeah, we have some problems in the state. We touched on a few of them tonight. But by and large, we have a really strong economy. Our natural resources in the state, both below the soil and what the soil can produce, you know, are the envy of the rest of the nation. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation, which I think speaks volumes about our citizens, that they'd rather go out and work for a living than stay at home and wait for the federal government to take care of them. Like I said, I think we've got a real positive thing. I think we got the field just about worked. We just need to disc out the corners.
Thank you, Harold.
I am Harold LeValley from Bremen. I've been married 41 years to my wife that's sitting right here. And I do believe in traditional marriage, pro-life, Second Amendment, limited government. And as far as our state economy, it is great. I think to do something to bring in new businesses, we've got to have a strong workforce, which goes back to a strong education. And education and agriculture, I think, are my main attributes to this job.
Thank you. Roy, you first date devil, you go right ahead.
Well, thank you for coming. I hope what you've seen is that we're not the norm up here. We've had many of these. We've crossed on the path. I know Jason better than probably anyone else here, but we've all come to know each other. And the reality is we agree more than we disagree on most of the important issues that make us all Republican. So I appreciate all these gentlemen and our lady, because this has been a positive experience. I wish other races would do the same. We all want your vote. We all believe that we have something to offer you. My life experience as an educator, my degrees, my service to my community, 8 years on the city commission, now as mayor. I'm used to making decisions that makes half the room mad at me for a while. Even my good Methodist church fellows, sometimes they kind of speak to me at church on Sunday because they know the good Lord's watching, but they don't really mean it with their heart sometimes. But that's what you got to have. You got to have a strong voice in Oklahoma City. For rural Oklahoma, we need that. I believe that with my experience, I can get going immediately. Senator Griffin, I've met her on the campaign trail. I know my senator is Fields. I don't know Senator Anderson well, but I can work with those people. I ask humbly for your vote.
Niki.
All right, real quick. I can't remember exactly how the old saying goes, but something about need is the invention of, or necessity is the invention for, help me.
Is the mother of invention.
Thank you. Which I'm seeing a lot of issues that we've had in this state, and I'm excited to see that now we're seeing that there's problems and now there's going to be some solutions. So I think I'm very, very excited about the direction our state's going to be going. We chose to live in the country again. My husband being a physician, we could have lived in the city and we chose not to. We chose to give our kids a country life again, so we went back out there. So obviously I have a heart for the country. I have a big desire to bridge the gap between this urban and rural facade that goes on where they think that they know more in the city than we do out here and whatnot. So I feel like I can really go down there and help them see that, you know, we're great out here in rural Oklahoma. Not everything fits out here that fits in the city and vice versa. And so I'm excited to get down there and do some great things. And so I humbly as well ask for your vote. And just like Mr. Chaney said, you'll have a really hard decision because everyone up here is really, they have great hearts and they're going to do you a great job. So I'm excited that you have such great people to vote for. So, but I'm asking for your vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, your candidates for State Representative District 38. Over a little bit, but I want to thank you all, you gentlemen and lady, for being here. One quick comment on my behalf that you were a joy to work with. Also the candidates for commissioner and for the Senate. Thank you very much for your kindness and your patience. Let me just tell this group of people right here. None of you are residents of Perry, but one of you is going to get elected, and you'll be part of the family. And we expect you to come to the table. So be there on behalf of the citizens of Perry. Thanks again for coming out, and we'll see you at the polls.